Well, as the world watched Donald Trump give his hour-long speech to the United Nations, boasting about how strong the U.S. economy is and how he deserves a Nobel Peace Prize, the truth is, the president was trying to cover up one of the biggest disasters unfolding right now in the United States. As we all know, Trump's tariff war has been the major political story of 2025, but we now have concrete proof that Trump's tariffs against China have officially backfired and devastated America's most important sector, agriculture. And this is where things get very interesting. You see, for the past 2 years, mainstream media has told us China has an overcapacity with its manufacturing sector, as China floods the international market with exports. I have no idea why American consumers buying quality products at reasonable prices from China is a bad thing. But here is something mainstream media won't tell you. The United States runs a massive overcapacity with its farming sector, as over 40% of the crops grown in the US have to be exported abroad, as the United States produces far more crops domestically than it can consume. Just listen to this US farmer break down the truth.
1 in every 4 rows of soybeans in every field in the entire United States of America has to go abroad. China is the largest importer of soybeans in the world. They import 61% of the world's market.
You see, the United States is blessed with some of the best agricultural lands in the entire world. Famously called the breadbasket of the world, nearly the entire central region of the United States has world-class conditions for producing agricultural products. American farmers have created an incredible amount of wealth over the years by trading with China. Local farming jobs in America have flourished because of the U.S. exporting agricultural products to China. With such a high percentage of U.S. agricultural products sent overseas, you'd think the U.S. would be very careful of any changes in such a fragile, critical industry like agriculture. But as this Trump administration has shown time and time again, thinking ahead and considering second-order effects is not their specialty. Trump launched an all-out trade war on China, failing to see the massive vulnerabilities within its own industries. Donald Trump wants you to believe that every country in the world needs the United States. But let's not forget China's position in the world order. China is the #1 trading partner with over 120 countries. If there is one country that has options, it's definitely China. And as a result, China was simply able to shift its soybean purchases from the United States to some of its closest allies around the world. Once again, just listen to this distressed farmer break down the truth.
Last year we sent around 12 billion, I think $14 billion worth of soybeans the year before. For the first time in 20 years, China's bought 0 soybeans and 0 new crop corn out of this country.
0?
So we went from 12 billion to 0.
Where are they buying the soybeans?
Brazil. You see, we lost 42% of our market share in the first tariff war. In Trump's first tariff war, Chinese went to buying their soybeans from Brazil. They invested billions of dollars in Brazilian infrastructure. They have moved into Africa, and they're going to commercially farm in Africa. Since we left with USAID, they moved their Belt and Road program into Africa. So we've pretty much lost the Chinese market share.
What's amazing is how easy China was able to immediately pivot to many other nations for their soybean and corn needs. It's no secret the Brazilian government has shifted much closer to China in the past 2 years. And another example of Trump's trade war disaster can be seen in the coffee industry. Earlier this year, Trump banned 183 Brazilian coffee exporters from selling their beans to the United States market. So guess what China did? They welcomed all 183 Brazilian coffee exporters into the Chinese market, which interestingly enough is the fastest growing coffee market in the world. And this is exactly what the US farmer admitted. When the United States shuts the door, China opens another door for countries like Brazil and continents like Africa, 2 places where China has invested billions of dollars through the Belt and Road Initiative, which was specifically designed for this exact purpose, to facilitate and further expand global trade. But just wait, because our story gets even worse, as the agricultural sector is just the tip of the iceberg for the many underlying problems of Donald Trump's failing economy. I'm going to explain everything to you and why China is in the ultimate position of leverage. But first, a lot of these US farmers are going into debt, and it's the perfect time to introduce today's video sponsor, PDS Debt, who might be able to help these farmers and you with your personal finances. Are credit card bills, personal loans, or medical debt keeping you up at night? I've been there. You work hard, but it feels like your money is working for everyone except you. The truth is, high interest debt is designed to keep you trapped. But there is a way out, and it starts with PDS Debt. PDS Debt is different from anything you've tried before. They don't just throw a generic plan at you. They use their own technology to look at your unique situation and find the best path forward. Whether it's credit cards, personal loans, collections, or medical bills, there's no minimum credit score required. They've already helped over 102,000 Americans resolve more than $500 million in debt. And they've got a 4.9 star rating on Google and Trustpilot, plus an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. Imagine paying off your debt faster, saving more money, and finally putting those payments back into your savings account instead of your creditor's pocket. It all starts with a free 30-second debt assessment. Just go to pdsdebt.com/Cyrus or scan the QR code right here on the screen. Don't wait. Every day you delay is costing you money. Take back control today at pdsdebt.com/Cyrus. But now we come to the worst part of this entire ordeal. You see, the US government never learns from its mistakes, and this isn't the first time US farmers were caught in the middle of a violent trade war with China. Just look at this New York Times article from 2019, which admits the Trump administration had to give US farmers over $16 billion in aid so US farms could survive the short-term decline from losing the Chinese market share of soybeans and corn. What makes this story even more wild is when we consider the majority of US farmers are registered Republicans, who no doubt supported Trump's re-election campaign and certainly bought into his mantra of making America great again. But now these same US farmers who supported and voted for Trump are suffering as pawns in his failing trade war that is only shifting more power to China. You see, China isn't just your normal trading partner. For the majority of the world, China is the most important trading partner and a vital reason entire industries exist. For most agricultural products, China is the #1 consumer in the world, which makes sense given its population of 1.4 billion people. But when it comes to soybeans, the disparity is even more extreme, with China accounting for a staggering 54% of the entire world's demand. That means that if American farmers literally had 100% of the entire world market, excluding China, they still would not be able to make up for the loss of Chinese demand. That's why China could collapse the entire American agricultural industry overnight. Of course, the US government could never let the farming industry fail. So pay attention in the coming months, as the US government will no doubt have to step in and provide another multi-billion-dollar aid package to keep these farms afloat. This means billions more in government spending, added to the already $37 trillion in national debt the Trump administration has done nothing but add to. This exact situation reminds me of the main thesis of this channel. The world wins when the US and China work together. China has the largest demand for soybeans in the world, and the United States has some of the most productive agriculture in the world, producing 40% more than it consumes. This could be, and in the past has been, a perfect area of cooperation between the two countries. Yet instead of this slam dunk win-win cooperation, Donald Trump has chosen a policy that frankly doesn't even hurt China. Remember the clip I showed you earlier from the US farmer who immediately pointed out that China is investing in Brazil and Africa. Right now, China is building a multi-billion-dollar cross-continental railway from the Brazilian coast through the center of South America and linking the Chancy port in Peru. While the US is tariffing and sanctioning countries around the globe, China is doing what it does best, building projects, providing tangible assets to developing countries to help increase global trade, and creating more win-win partnerships. I wish I could say the same for the US, but this trade war is now ruining many of America's best companies. Let's look at John Deere, one of America's best-known long-term value stocks, whose stock has increased over 112% the past 5 years. But now, the company faces a crossroad, as decreasing demand and increasing investments are hitting the company at the worst time possible. The company estimates the full-year tariff impact will result in losses of nearly $600 million. Another major American heavy vehicle manufacturing company, Caterpillar, is also projected to lose $1.5 billion as a result of these tariffs. The saddest part is that all of these losses come even as these companies have committed to investing millions in US manufacturing, where Donald Trump campaigned on supporting. But his contradictory trade war has made every input for that manufacturing more expensive, destroying any attempt at achieving Trump's goal of actually bringing back manufacturing jobs to the United States. But like I said at the beginning of this video, Trump's trade war is affecting every facet of the US economy, including the one industry the US is desperate to maintain its leadership position, and that of course is the semiconductor industry. Nvidia is the most valuable company in the world, valued at over $4 trillion, and it's the shining star of the US economy and stock market. The stock is up 43% this year alone, but like many industries, Nvidia was caught right in the middle of this terrible trade war between the US and China. For months, NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang has been campaigning for the Trump administration to allow America's most valuable company the opportunity to sell its microchips to China. The China market share is worth an incredible $15 billion to NVIDIA. Trump finally agreed, but what happened next surprised everyone, as China decided to ban local Chinese companies from buying these American microchips, causing a tremendous disappointment for Jensen Huang and all NVIDIA shareholders. In the first quarter alone, NVIDIA reported the restrictions cost it around $7 billion in charges from unfulfilled sales and lost revenue. But while we look at these large-scale industry-wide problems affecting U.S. producers, let's take a moment to consider the biggest victims of this trade war: ordinary Americans who are shouldering the cost of this administration's trade policy, as most of the tariffs are passed directly on to the American consumer. Take a look at this graph showing expectations for household income among U.S. households over the next 1 to 2 years. It has reached the lowest point ever recorded, as U.S. consumer confidence has fallen to 41%. Most Americans now have a completely pessimistic view of the economy, and with good reason. The U.S. is currently experiencing a cost of living crisis, with every single daily expense increasing drastically compared to prices just 5 years ago. House prices are up 51%, gas is up 55%, a pound of coffee is up 97%, and don't get me started on eggs, which have skyrocketed a whopping 170%. Everyday people in the U.S. are being squeezed out of just about every aspect of their lives. Lowering the cost of living was a major campaign promise from Donald Trump, but so far in 2025, voters have only seen conditions worsen. Unsurprisingly, this has translated into a massive dip in support of the Trump government. According to a recent YouGov poll, Donald Trump's approval rating has reached an all-time low, falling a staggering 17 points, with only 39% approving of the president. To achieve this record, he had to surpass even his own approval rating from 2017 during his first term. Such a collapse just 9 months into an administration is unprecedented. These tariffs have decimated exports for farmers, crashed the job market, ramped up inflation, stifled growth, and increased prices for consumers. Despite these catastrophic numbers, the Trump administration shows no sign of backing off from this disastrous path. Frankly, it seems that Donald Trump doesn't care. In the end, the true cost of Trump tariffs go far beyond immediate financial losses. It's about the long-term erosion of trust between the U.S. and its global trading partners, the very undermining of the industries that sustain the American economy, and the disillusionment of those who were promised a better future. This trade war has shown how quickly countries like China can adapt to changes, while the U.S. flounders in its own self-inflicted crises. The real question moving forward is whether the U.S. can course correct before it becomes a larger, more irreversible issue. As day by day, the United States alliances weaken, the economy worsens, and the dollar falls, the U.S. economy and the country, as we know it, are heading towards a major crisis. Everyone, thank you for making it to this point of the video, and thank you to our sponsor PDS Debt for supporting the channel. If you are one of the millions of Americans who are struggling with debt and caught in a difficult financial position because of this trade war, please reach out to the team at PDS Debt and start with a free 30-second debt assessment. Just go to pdsdebt.com/Cyrus or scan the QR code right here on the screen. Thank you all for your continued support, and I look forward to seeing you all in our next video soon.